One of the most notable debates about the 2018 NFL Draft was whether or not the New York Giants made the right decision taking a running back, no matter how special he is, in Saquon Barkley, number 2 overall, instead of taking a young quarterback, most notably Sam Darnold from USC. It was a major talking point and point of contentious debate then, and it's probably going to be for the next several years down the road. It's going to be. It absolutely is. And it deserves to be. Because of what it represented. It represented Dave Gettleman, Pat Shurmur, the New York Giants organization, showing faith in Eli Manning when there really was no discernible reason at this stage of Eli Manning's career to show any faith in him. Absolutely none. But yet they persisted and they insisted that they were going to try and load up and make one more run with Eli Manning. And yet here we are 6 weeks through the 2018 season and the Giants are sitting at 1-5. Huh! Imagine that. And Eli's been garbage. Huh! Imagine that. Now, if somebody takes a look at the raw numbers statistically and sees a career high in completion percentage and so forth, they'd say Eli's playing as well as he ever has. Not that he was ever great to begin with. But those numbers, as everybody with a brain and eyes that have actually watched any Giants football this year knows, that is incredibly misleading. Nothing but screens and dump-off passes and check-downs, short throws. You're artificially padding his completion percentage because the truth of the matter is Pat Shurmur has to know that Eli Manning is washed up. He's done. And that's okay. The old saying about Father Time remains undefeated when it comes to athletes is absolutely true. It was true for Eli Manning now, clearly, just like it was in 2015 for Peyton Manning. When Peyton was done, he was done. Eli is done. And maybe Ben McAdoo was trying to tell everybody last year he was done. Well, frankly, I've been trying to say it for a few years. Dude is done. And sure, you can blame an offensive line. You can blame this and you can blame that. But the fact of the matter is this is a team with Odell Beckham Jr. and Saquon Barkley as their 2 featured skill position players, and they are 1-5 and their offense stinks. Stinks. What's the commonality here? They added Nate Solder. They drafted Will Hernandez. Sure, that doesn't fix everything on the offensive line, but you would think it would make them better. Even if you didn't have Evan Engram some of the time, you still had Saquon Barkley and Odell Beckham Jr. I wonder what the commonality here is. It's Eli Manning because he stinks, he's done, and he's washed up. It is time for the Giants to do the right thing, admit they made a mistake, admit they were wrong, and bench Eli Manning now. There is no discernible reason to sit there and play Eli Manning the rest of 2018. There just isn't. You are 1-5. You are, for all intents and purposes, done. Even if your schedule gets a little bit friendlier the second half of the year, you are done. Done. There is no benefit to playing Eli Manning anymore. Because here's what happens. Let's say Eli Manning gets the fountain of youth one more time, and maybe for 2 or 3 games he's not completely done and he doesn't completely suck. Then he's costing you valuable draft position that you're going to want to have in 2019 when you're going to have to draft a damn quarterback that you probably should have in 2018. So you will still continue to impact and hinder your organization for many years to come. There is nothing to gain here from trotting out Eli Manning anymore. Acting like he still has something in the tank. He doesn't. He sucks. He is done. All you were doing is running the risk of losing more games and accomplishing nothing towards the future, making guys like Odell Beckham Jr. even more disenfranchised with the organization, and all the while not giving the opportunity to a young kid like Kyle Lauletta to come in and see what the hell, if anything, he has. And not even talking about something crazy like as a long-term starter or the franchise quarterback, the face of the franchise of the future, but just even seeing if he was worth the 4th-round pick, even worth being your long-term, let's say, backup quarterback. That's still something that's important to figure out. You did invest a 4th-round pick in the kid. You might want to find out if he can play at all. Does it let you know in this offseason if you need to go get 1 quarterback or 2 of them? If you lose a bunch of games with Eli Manning, you've still lost a bunch of games, and you haven't done anything to give Lauletta or a young quarterback a chance to show what, if anything, he could do. If you win some games with Eli Manning, you're still not making the fucking playoffs, and all you're doing is costing yourself draft position and potentially fooling yourself into thinking, well, if we reload around him even a little bit more, maybe 2019 he can make a run. The dude is over. The Eli experience is a bust. It's done. There's no sensible reason to start him anymore. Unless you were determined to potentially lose your locker room by continuing to dust off this fucking fossil and pretending like he can still play the quarterback position at an NFL level, because he can't. He can't. And I understand this is hard. He's been the face of the franchise for almost a decade and a half. You won 2 Lombardi trophies with him as your dude. There's loyalty there. There's something there. There's a connection there. I get it. But it's not going to last forever anyways. And it should have already been over after last season. There is no reason to continue it any longer. Nothing good comes out of playing Eli. Nothing. Bench him. Before it gets any worse, before he looks even worse, and before you potentially lose that locker room, before you lose that roster, and they lose faith in the coaching staff and the front office. And if this front office and coaching staff continues to persist on playing Eli Manning, when clearly he has nothing left in the tank, then maybe they deserve to lose this team in this locker room. Could you imagine being a player on that Giants roster right now, looking at this honestly, without bias or anything else, and saying, my coach thinks our best chance to win is Eli Manning. God help us all. That's what I would think, and that's exactly what the hell you would think too. At this point in time, you're tanking anyways. You might as well go all the way. And if you do happen to win a couple of games with somebody else playing other than Eli Manning, then you can maybe sit there and point to, hey, at least we got the long-term backup of the future. We still got to go find that young quarterback. But nothing would be worse than to win a couple of meaningless games with a meaningless, over-the-hill, washed-up quarterback at this stage where you cost yourself that chance to get that guy, whether it's Herbert out of Oregon or somebody else in the 2019 draft. This is not that hard of a call. This is not that hard of a decision. If you're going to tell me that Eli truly gives you the best chance to win football games at this stage of his career, at this moment in time, then that is an indictment on the rest of the quarterbacks on that roster. It was a run. You got a couple of world championships. Skip-de-skip, whoop-de-woo. But that was many years back, and the time has come to admit the mistake. You should have never went all in on him in 2018 and moved the hell on. And as far as Saquon or Darnold or anything else, long-term grand scheme of things, if they got Saquon and he's going to be a stud, and next year they get a quarterback who ends up being a stud, it will probably be a moot freaking point, let's be honest. But right now, current state, you don't know what's going to happen with that draft yet. You don't know who ends up looking like they could be that guy or not be that guy. And even now, it's still really hard to truly formulate that opinion. But what you do know is that the Giants invested a second overall pick on a really talented running back, didn't get themselves a young quarterback that had franchise type of potential in this draft class when that was clearly the number one need of the team, because they wanted to roll with the mid-30s quarterback that was done and washed up. The time to bench Eli had already long since come and gone, but that time is clearly here, and it's time for the Giants organization to do the right thing for Eli, for the players, and for themselves, and move the hell on.